Welcome to another episode of Unscripted Pivots, where we shine a spotlight on the remarkable journeys of WTF. That's Women That Flourish. I'm your host, Danielle Sprouls, also affectionately known as the WTF Lady. Today, we're joined by a powerhouse of resilience and innovation, Jenn Quader. As the president and CEO of the Smart Agency, Jenn has transformed a venerable 30-year-old company into a leading force in professional communications for commercial real estate and financial services across the U.S. Her journey is nothing short of inspirational. From captivating audiences as a professional singer and actress to becoming a distinguished voice in global communications, Jenn's career has been a series of daring shifts and bold steps. With every no she encountered on her artistic path, she forged ahead, performing across all 50 states and numerous countries, ultimately channeling her storytelling skills into a successful career in public relations and corporate communications. Jenn's academic pursuits are equally impressive, with a Master of Arts in Global Communications from the American University in Paris and a Bachelor of Science in Communications from East Carolina University. Jenn's honed her expertise at a global level, working with giants like Fox MGM Entertainment, Ford Motor Company, and Michelin, and recently graced the stage as a TEDx speaker. Go, Jenn! Her personal mission: to empower the next generations of leaders as confident, empathetic communicators who lead with humanity at the forefront. Today, we'll dive deep into the life of this vibrant, driven leader who embodies the spirit of Unscripted Pivots. Let's give a warm welcome to Jenn Quader. Yay!
Yay, right back at you. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm like, do I have an applause button on this thing? I celebrate you. You are just absolutely amazing. And a big shout out to Crew Orange County, because I think that's really where we first crossed paths. And it's so interesting that when we really put ourselves out there and join and participate in industry organizations, we really have an opportunity to grow our network in a meaningful way. I am just so thrilled to know you, just so thrilled.
I couldn't say it better. I think that you are right. It is Crew Orange County that brought us together.
Yes.
I think, first of all, the ability to have that kind of community is something that I have learned in my leadership as we talk about pivots. I think community is so important. But then beyond that, Danielle, just you as a vibrant human being. When I first met you, we went to lunch, and I remember I thought, oh, okay, I'm going to go have lunch with this lady. Man, I wanted to spend 4 hours. I mean, we just, you ask such great questions.
Yeah.
You really dive deep into what you do. And I know that that's across this podcasting world and also across the coaching world. So I just, I'm really honored to be able to have this conversation with you. And I thank you for the platform to do it.
Oh, thank you for coming on. I mean, let's just talk about your career path, right? I mean, it's so unconventional. I mean, how did you approach so many pivots in your life?
Well, I want to say with grace, but I think it was probably with fear and trepidation in a lot of it. And I think that is the key. I think that I have a little Post-it note up here that says, if you can't overcome the fear, do it scared.
Yes.
And I think, when it comes time to make these pivots, and to your point, I had a really non-traditional background. So my first job was in professional theater. I performed, I went to New York City. I performed on cruise ships. I did national tours of performing. And then I pivoted over and I went to graduate school in Paris. And I can speak to that as maybe a first clear pivot that I can remember. You know, I had built this theatrical resume. I really had reached a place where I had several places I could work very steadily. And I remember this fear hitting me in the middle of the night. Like, what are you going to do? You're just going to go to Paris? You're going to be a nobody? Like, you're going to start over? And I think a lot of it is about facing that fear and looking at it and saying, that's fear. Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyway. I think that's been the biggest approach.
I know. I mean, fear is such a, underlying thing. I heard somebody say just recently, and it stuck with me about fear. They said something like, and I might misquote this, fear, we're not meant to face our fears. We're meant to ride them. Right? Isn't that cool? It was on a movie just recently, and I was like, ding, 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 got to remember that one. I heard it in a movie. Yeah. So I'm gonna repeat that. We're not meant to face our fears. We're meant to ride them. And that's it. right? And you're just a woman about bold steps. And I have so many questions. I mean, first of all, what a glamorous existence. I didn't really move out of New Jersey. I went to school there, college, law school, and had kids there. And here you are performing on cruise ships, going to Paris to study. And so tell us a little bit about what gave you the gumption to get outside your comfort zone and explore the world in such a bold way.
Good question. I have to credit a lot of that to family. I do think that we are always a product of our upbringing and our community. And my family was very musical growing up. So my dad's a pianist. And so we grew up, we were called the Musical Michaels. And our family.
No, get out.
Yeah, for real. And,
Really?
and we were on television every Christmas. We had a Christmas special.
You did not.
I did.
Get out.
I'm not kidding.
Really? Wait. Okay, I don't find this anywhere in her bio. I want more. I want more about this. Okay, the Musical Michaels. Now, what channel were you on? I mean, it's like the Partridge Family in a different way. Okay,
this was the dream. You don't understand, Danielle. We got a bus and everything. Like this was gonna happen. Yes.
Okay, tell us a little bit about that because I can see you're smiling, and I think that's so cool. That certainly differentiates you in my childhood. Okay.
And I do, right. We learn so much from everything that happens to us. But yeah, in this case, my dad was just really, he was really committed to music. My parents together, my mom's a singer also. Okay. He was really committed to music, but he was also really committed to community. And this brings it back to that idea of Crew Orange County and you and I meeting and things. My dad was an optometrist, so a small business owner in town, and he wanted to do something to bring the community together. And he felt like this was our gift, music. So he got a bunch of local companies to sponsor this show. And we were on the local channel. It was like the regional channel for Eastern North Carolina. And the show ran for nearly 25 years. So there are clips on YouTube of me, like when I'm 8 going like, I'm Jennifer Michaels and I'm here to sing. And then we do some dancing and it's really fun.
Okay. So you were born into this and you just obviously have like the genetic makeup, right, for that kind of talent. So now this makes a lot of sense because there's a lot of people that play instruments or otherwise sing, but don't really have the opportunity to showcase that skill set the way that you did. So this makes a lot of sense to me. So there you are, you're on cruise ships and then you're studying in Paris and you're doing all these magical things. But today I'm seeing you out there in the commercial real estate and finance world in corporate communications, just like, kicking ass and taking names. That's what you're doing. But you're not on that stage, but you bring your stage background to the communication forefront. And I do get to see clips that you're doing with the people that, you're mentoring or otherwise they're employed by you and giving them that stage so that you can give them a voice to show them that, when we have something to say, here's how we do it and why we do it. Just let's talk about it all because it's all kind of like wrapped up into one, right? Let's talk about you and your purpose and highlight the great stuff that you're doing at the Smart Agency.
You are talking to my heart right now, Danielle. Thank you for bringing it all together. Yeah. Because I think something you said, was, I was kind of born into this personally. I did have a family who was putting me on stage and I like it. I do well there. But I think that this is about resilience and leadership is about bold moves. And it really doesn't matter whether you were raised on a stage or whether you weren't. It requires this ability to walk into that room and own whatever room you're in, whether it's that boardroom or the team meeting room or anywhere. So when it comes to the Smart Agency, I have a team. We call ourselves Team Smart, and I love it.
Okay.
And I have a team I'm so proud of. And one of the things that I first did, because I acquired the agency in 2018. We rebranded in 2021. And I first really sat down and looked at what are the values that we were already living by and how could we push that through to speak to what my mission is, which is helping people to find the way to communicate that's going to help them get what they want out of life. And so what I really did was I looked at one of our key core, we have a lot of them, client services in our DNA. That's our number one. We have some great things that we live to, but one of them is we are brave. We are not afraid to speak up. And in a PR capacity, that really serves clients because you don't want a yes man as your PR person. You want a consultant. You want, But what I looked at and I realized was, 100% of the time, my team was speaking on behalf of our clients, which is a really useful thing. It's what we do. But I thought, in order to be brave, in order to live that value, we need to cultivate our own thinking. We need to have that bravery. So this kind of started this speech series. I call it Smart Speech. And
Okay.
I thought, I want to do a speech. I want to create something, some new idea, and just, bring it out. And then I invited everyone on the team, and it was not mandatory. It was optional, but we had great participation. I think we had maybe 6 or 7 people do it, all on these great different topics. We left it very open. It needed to be something related to business, but it didn't, it could be anything they chose. And what I think is so important is that each person chose what they want. Then they research and they really think about what is important to them and how do they connect that to that message. And then it's giving them that stage, that forum, that opportunity
Okay.
to go up and stand up
Let's
and
talk
do it.
about this for a minute. Now, I think it's true that it's been said that public speaking is the number one fear in life, that some people would rather attend their own funeral than go and speak on a stage. Okay. I know, literally, right? And I think
Yeah.
there was a time in my life where I'd be like, yeah, I'd rather die. Okay. So, and it's so, what I think is so cool is that even though you were cultivated at a very young age to feel comfortable with that, not everybody was. And I'm sure many members of your team who are now showcasing their ability are doing that because you give them a safe place to do that. So this says a lot about you, Jenn, as a leader, right? And nobody feels just, just comfortable right out of the bat, but you really show them how they can transition that like nervous energy into a power. Right. And ultimately, that's really an act of service, because when we use our voice for good and we share it, we're actually probably sending a message that's very helpful to other people, whether that's in a business sense where you're actually, taking a company, your client to the next level and helping them navigate their way to success, as you're hired, or just even to stand up for the things that you hold dear to your heart on a personal level. Right. So where can everybody find those talks, or for lack of a better word, the smart speeches? Where are they? Are they on
Thank you for
YouTube? Where are they?
asking. Yeah, they're on YouTube. They're on the Smart
Okay.
Agency Inc. They're on our YouTube, and they're also on our website. If you go under our blog, you will see those, and
Okay.
there will be more coming. So we've turned it into an annual event, and I'm working to try to expand it, because actually you bring up a very good point. There are public speakers, and then there are people who don't need to be presenter public speakers, but who still need to be able to present well in a meeting and need to
Mm-hmm.
have those skills. You mentioned it being an act of service.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I look at what will, as this is growing, we are inviting people to put together panels and have panel discussions and to bring in other topics. So the idea is teach these people how to lead, whether it
Mm-hmm.
be, a speech or whether it be leading a discussion, and make sure that they feel comfortable in that role, which is the role of sharing their voice openly and authentically.
I mean, and that translates over from the business sense over to your personal life. Communication is at the core of everything that we do, and certainly contributes to having a successful relationship, whether it's with your employee, your boss, or your partner, right? And friends. So what you're doing is really, really important. So I have to, I mean, I hate to just like jump the gun, but like I am so excited to talk about this TEDx talk.
Yeah, me
And
too.
she's doing a dancey dance over there, as she
Me
should. Okay, not only do I want to know is like, okay, these are the questions when you're formulating an answer. I want to know a few things. I want to know not what made you think you can do it, because that's obvious to everybody, including myself. Like, how did you even that get on your radar? How did it become your path? And also to listeners out there that would like flirt with that opportunity, how do you even go about even getting an opportunity like that? So just lay it all on. But yes, Miss TEDx Talk
Miss
speaker.
TEDx.
Yay.
Well, first of all, I'm like delighted and honored and over the moon, and it is something that I had. We all have our vision boards, if you will, our kind of
Yeah.
goals. And it's something I had said out loud. I had said several times, I want to do a TED Talk. I want to do a TED Talk. And I actually think that is advice number one, is if you want something, you have to say it out loud.
Okay. Yeah.
And in fact, I want to tell a really kind of a personal story, if I may, like a
Bring
real
it
personal
on,
story.
Jenn. We're here to
Let's
unveil
get
it.
real. back in the day, we talked about I was a performer, and
Yeah.
when you're a performer, your job is you. It's you wear the costumes, you do the things.
Yeah.
And I used to run around telling everybody, frankly, how fat I was. It's something I would
Okay.
say.
Yeah.
I would say, "Oh, but I'm
Mm.
so big and I don't look good in this costume and I'm so big and I'm so this." And it was something in my own head. And I can remember going back to visit a theater where I had done that and someone saying, "You you're so much smaller than I remember." And then looking at pictures and going, "No, I'm the same size." It's literally whatever I'm saying that I'm creating a truth. And so in that same regard, when you want to do something like do a TEDx, what you
Mm-hmm.
can't do is say, "Well, I'd never be able to do that. That's just far beyond me." That's what'll happen. So that'd be my first thing I'd say. Any
I
thoughts on
want to
that before I
stop
go
you right
on?
there because we're going to continue this story, but okay, like it's like hold the phone, okay? Because this is such an important, no, it really is. It's such an important piece of why I'm doing this podcast is the negative self-talk that we have. And there's a couple things, and I'll just really talk about, for myself. When I would, and because I really try not to do that anymore. And when I say do that, I mean highlight any of the things that I feel are not perfect about me. It's almost like I need, or this is past tense too, because I've grown from this, but I don't lead with that because I used to look for like I have awareness of this. Like I know you, and I think I know what you're thinking. Right. And that is one of our biggest mistakes. We already assume that people are sizing us or judging us. Now, if we're, older or heavier or this or whatever, that is not really what they're seeing. Right. And if it is, it's not like the only thing that they're seeing, but we almost want to highlight it. Like we want to confirm, like, I know this to be true about me. And it's so like belittling. And why do we do that? That self-critical voice. And I obviously have grown from that. And I'm really happy to hear that because women in particular, they want to highlight what's wrong with them because they want to, confirm like, well, I know. I know this is bad about me. Right. And like how terrible is that? When you look at it, I always say, I want to wake up in the morning and I want to talk to myself the way that I would talk about my best friend. Because if you were ever to say anything bad about my best friend, I'd kick your ass like from here to Sunday. Right. So I said, Danielle, remember, it all starts with self-love. I can't have healthy relationships unless I love myself. And I don't have to see myself as perfect. But you know what? I'm made in God's image. And not to get all religious about it, but the spiritual component of my life is strong. And yes, I'm getting older and I have some complaints about that in terms of like the physical department. But here's the thing. All the parts work. It's an attitude of gratitude, right? And if there's something that's not working out in my life that I have control over, then you do it, but I'm so glad you don't do that anymore. And I just wanted to kind of stop for a second and just say, hey, be your own best friend because it starts with that. It really does. So there you are. You rekindled with somebody. You were back on, in a meeting or on stage, and they said, "Oh, you're smaller than I remember, but you were the same size." Now, were you a different person then? Because I really do think that what we project is what people are going to see. So maybe you weren't projecting that then. So talk to us. Talk to us,
Yes.
Jenn.
No, I think you've nailed it on what we project is what people see. But I also think you
Yeah.
really you hit into something, and that's something I love about your podcast, by the way, because I think that you are very in tune with kind of the inner world that is inside of us and how that affects us, and also speaking to spirituality, which is part of that inner world.
Yeah.
So the answer is, was I a different person? I certainly was, but I was still on the road. And what you talked about is you mentioned assumptions. And I think that a turning point in my life, or a pivot, if you will, as I was growing up myself, is I started to read works by Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote The Four Agreements. He wrote The
Oh,
Mastery
yeah.
of Love.
Yeah.
He's
Good.
fantastic. And one of his four
Great
tenets
stuff.
is don't make assumptions. Exactly what
Yeah.
you're saying. Because by doing that, we put ourselves on the defensive, immediately. And that allows for an inner dialogue that's just not healthy. So, and then I like what you said about, the self-talk is so important. And he gives a really good example. He says, when you have a pet, you have like a dog, let's say, how do you treat that dog? Do you ever say, do you ever mean to that dog? No, you always say, oh, that sweet little love. And
Yeah.
he said, treat yourself like you would treat that dog.
Yeah.
Give yourself love. He literally says, touch yourself, give yourself love. And I think that's really important. So, so the answer is, yeah, I became a different person And frankly, for me, I did need to step away from that world. That was part of my pivot, was I needed to step away at that time from a world where my entire job was to go and look at myself in the mirror, to get ready for the show and then go and do it. It was a great part of my upbringing, but I needed to come and be a real person, and I think that then led me, and I'll bring us back to how we got to this, which you asked kind of how did the TEDx even get on my radar and how did we get to that? And a lot of it was kind of first growing up through some of those painful things, that negative self-talk, the things that were holding me back. And then I think it was setting that intention, saying out loud, it's what I want. And then it was doing the work. And so this comes back to, I had that idea, let's do smart speech. Well, I did it. I wrote a speech. The first year it was just me because I didn't know yet, and I wrote a speech. I wrote it about my industry. I focused on commercial real estate. I was amazed to find that, commercial real estate women does this study every 5 years, I think, every 5 or 10 years.
True.
And yeah, and I was just amazed to find that like women in the industry had not at all increased. And that over the course of time, even though there have been all these strides, all these people who are focused on DEI, and all these women I meet, like you and like these other women in crew, and yet we still don't have a strong foothold in the industry. So I just wrote it about something I was passionate about. I got up and I gave it, and then by the next year,
what was the name of that smart speech?
That one was the very first Confidently Walking in the Wrong Direction, which is what
Confidently walking in the wrong direction. All right.
That's
Okay.
the speech.
I love it. Can you give us a highlight on that? We'll get to the TED Talk in a minute, people. Okay, we're exploring.
Well, and frankly, so what happened is that
I
first
just
talk.
see this. I just want you to highlight it for those that didn't.
Please. Well, and that first talk actually was the precursor to the TEDx, which is called Confidently Walking in the Wrong Direction, a CEO's Guide to Navigating Change. But really, this comes from the fact that, we never know when we are in a wrong direction. There are, and one of the points I made in that initial speech was, often you make a decision, you start walking, it is right, and then sometimes it becomes wrong along the way. And so if we live in a world where we are afraid to walk forward in a direction until we know 100% it's right, well, we're not going to do much walking.
That's
And
right.
if we
That's a state of paralysis right there.
Paralysis.
And then comes the other P word, procrastination. Okay, you'll start cleaning your house or baking cookies instead of doing what you need to do because you're going to buy some time, until you get up the courage. And we don't, and the confidence, right? And confidence isn't a skill set. I just did a podcast about this. It really, how do you get there? It's small daily acts of courage. But I love that you're saying about walking in the wrong direction. I've always believed of that phrase, let's fail forward, because there is no way you're going to move forward unless, you're going to fail. I mean, that just is, it's required. I mean, that's the learn and grow of it. And you have to embrace it and recognize that it doesn't diminish your journey whatsoever. In fact, I'm like, hey, and then to remember to celebrate those small triumphs along the way, because so many of us are so fixated by our ultimate goal that we think until we achieve there, we haven't really won. And yet there are so many triumphs, each and every time that we're doing it. And then we got to step back and just, it's okay. It's healthy to pat yourself on the shoulder. So you were walking in the wrong direction, and I got to ask you too, because I still don't know the answer to this. Wrong direction, highlight on that. But I also want to know why you would choose a male-dominated industry like commercial real estate to use a skill set that could pretty much be used in any industry. So, there's going to be another question after you talk about your thing, because I got so many questions, people. So this is why I do a podcast. I have so many questions.
You ask the best questions.
I used to be a lawyer, that, okay?
I know.
I mean, I am literally trained to do the deep dive, and I am genuinely interested in people and their journeys. And I do think that I have the ability to see deeper than most. It just jumps out at me when I get with somebody like that. And that's why this is so satisfying to do this podcast. So you're on that stage, and when you said confidently walking in the wrong direction, what direction were you walking that you felt was wrong, or was it just about recognizing there's pivots?
It's a little bit of both, actually. It is about, I think that it is about in each moment you wake up and realize sometimes that it's wrong. I tell a story in the first speech about I was really kind of on top of the world in my theatrical career. I'd gotten to a place where I had done 2 national tours. I had a third one offered. I was living in a great place in Manhattan. And I
Wow.
woke up in the middle of the night, like kind of in a cold sweat. And I remember because I like wrote a letter to myself and it was like, you're done. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is not what you want to do. And you want to do something else. And I didn't know what it was yet. But what I think that the importance of that is that everybody has that moment. I think everybody has to wake up in the middle of the
Oh,
night or the
and
morning or
they have it more than once in their lifetime. People, places, and things. You know,
several times.
it could be your job, it could be your partner, it could be where you live. So that is a pivotal moment. And
It
what
is.
really makes it different than just something, you know, that we're not talking about, what makes it different, we're talking about it because you surrendered to it and you accepted it, despite the fact that you didn't have a crystal ball to tell you what was going to come ahead. But you
Yeah.
said, what I know is by the process of elimination being this path, I'm going to do something different. And that resonates deeply with me because, as you know, I just pretty much wrapped up a 23-year stint in title insurance. And
Mhm.
sometimes this is how we figure out what it is we're going to do. So you decided in that night, you literally wrote it down. Was that to validate it and to make it real?
Well, yeah, and I'm a
Yeah.
writer. I write every day. I journal
Yeah.
every day. So it was
Yes.
like it was to get it out of me. You know, sometimes it's just
Okay.
bobbling around. Think of it like a pinball machine. You know, it's just
Yeah.
bopping around. I got to get it out, so I put it on the page. But I think
Yeah.
what the reason that it came to my head confidently walking in the wrong direction is because it then took me 2.5 to 3 more years to actually leave that industry. And I think
Okay.
that's the pivotal part. I think that when people wake up and they realize, like, this isn't for me, they often either freeze or retreat. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to keep walking even when you know it is wrong. So I knew I'm not going to be an actress anymore. But I also knew if I just quit right now, I need to finish out this contract. I had another one on deck, so I went
Oh,
ahead and finished
there's
that.
responsibility, sure. I mean, you
There's
don't want to be dumb about it, right? But I do believe that once you have that awareness of something, there's no going back in your head. And I don't mean going back to doing the thing. You can continue to do it. You fulfilled your contract. You did the responsible thing, and I get that. But it is never the same once you have an awareness and then you move into acceptance with it. So you did it for a couple years, but then now as you're leaving that, and when I said leaving that, were we in the United States? Were we
Yeah,
somewhere
I was in
else?
the US. I was
Okay.
traveling.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I finished up the last tour. I was working. I had been on the national tour of Rent, and then I was doing some work in the company
I
management for
saw
the
red.
national. Yeah, so fun. And then for the
Oh my
national
God,
tour
my
of.
life is so boring compared to yours. I was
Oh
in
no,
and out of the maternity ward while you were like out there singing on Broadway. Okay. That's what I was doing.
hey, I don't know. I think that's a pretty exciting life, my dear.
Well, I mean, you know, yes, I was creating, but human beings, and look, no regrets. Okay, there's 4 of them, and I love them dearly. But but my life was pretty traditional. I'm a Leo. Okay, and if you know anything about that sign, I belonged on stage, but God didn't grace me with a voice or anything of that. I don't have. Well, no, I have a voice. I just don't have a singing one, but I definitely have a voice.
Yes, you do. You have a
Okay,
beautiful voice that
so
you're bringing forward.
I can't even sing happy birthday. Okay. I'm serious. I mouth in church. I literally mouth the words. Like I'm out there, doing the little bit of rocking, because we have a church that like sings and has a big band, and I'm just like singing along, but I'm just mouthing. If you're next to me, it looks like I'm mouth. I can't do it, Jen. Okay.
I
Okay.
love
So going back, so you fulfill your contract. You're in the U.S. And then where is the career pivot? And how old are you at the time? Like, well, where were you in your life?
I was in my 20s. I was late
Okay.
20s by then. So I had done theater from, my first job out of high school was cruise ships. That was
That's
really
so cool.
fun. So fun. That was still, I think that's still like the best gig, like they just pay you and you sing and dance and
Oh man.
talk to all the guests.
Yeah, that's so good. It's that, yeah, I mean, for those that haven't met Jen yet, please meet her through her YouTube channel or through the other things that if you don't actually get to, physically encounter her, she is amazing. She has just so much energy. And I'm just going to use the word vibrant. Like when I think about you, I just think vibrancy, right? You just exude it. So none of this is surprising to me about the cruise ships and the rent and okay. So
let me,
you
oh,
left. No,
sorry.
go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was going to say, I think though that you bring something up really, really interesting because I am like inherently by nature, I'm a very vibrant person. I'm a very
Yeah.
like, and frankly, when I'm being more negative self-talk, I would say I'm a very loud person. I'm someone who, I think when you meet me, you do not say, boy, that girl's probably in commercial real estate. You know what I mean? And I think that is exactly because you asked me. You said, "How did this world come to commercial real estate? This work you're doing, this communications work that I'm doing, you're right. It could be done in any industry, but it is
Mm-hmm.
what I feel that is special about our industry because I think it's very underserved when it comes to kind of personality in communications. I think that
Mm-hmm.
it is such a stringent business. It is very, very important. There are so many entities that are involved. It's big business. It's big money. You have to take all that stuff seriously. And so I think that a lot of people, women especially, they just kind of adapt what I'd call the coat. You put on the commercial real
Mm-hmm.
estate coat and you have to go and you have to play this role. And I think that what's going to happen is if that continues, like if we all have to put on the coat, the uncomfortable coat that's not us, we're going to have more and more and more people just keep leaving the industry. And so it's my hope if we change it from the inside out that these people become more confident in being vibrant and loud and fun, but also serious and also
Yeah.
stringent. I think there's a place for both, and that's really what attracts me to this industry.
Well, really, I mean, so like the outside package doesn't need to be so conservative when the inside is really prepared and experienced. And you are that, and you're a breath of fresh air in terms of, offering this into such a corporate, like, so tell me when you are pitching new clients, ones that don't know you, are you coming across a lot of embracing? Like, are they saying, yeah, we want a woman when it comes to our communication and our representation? Or are they more male kind of preferred outfits? Like, what are you seeing? Because you're in a different pocket than I was. And so I don't know what your experiences would be.
I think that's a great question. I think that, first of all, I think the PR industry is heavily women. And so I do think that
Okay.
no one's really overly surprised when it's a lady and she does PR. You know what I
Sure.
mean? I think they're
Okay.
kind of like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I get you. Um, what I find though is that I'm trying to think of exactly how to answer that, to get to the meat of what I think you're asking, which is like, how important is it or how are you kind of asking like how trusted are you as a woman in this or what? I want to help sharpen the question so I can make sure I'm
No, I
answering it
think
in
you
the
almost
best way.
answered it because you're saying that when it comes to PR, it's usually it's dominated by women. So in the commercial real estate sector and probably beyond, so that they're not surprised when you're pitching them. They're thinking, okay, yeah, this is they expect what they see,
But I
and
think
then with a little flair because
yeah.
you wear bright clothes. You have this. I mean, she has the best smile. And this will make it like onto YouTube as soon as I start uploading these things. I'm woefully behind in doing any of that. But all these videos are captured, but people just usually see snippets. But you have such a bright smile and it's inviting. No, you have a warmth about you that you exude that doesn't surprise me as you're, bringing up all of these people in the smart speech, experience because you just make people feel safe. You just do, right? And that's a gift. That's an absolute gift. It really is. But
Well,
we
and
got
it's
to
an
get
act
back
of
to this TEDx.
service.
I
It's
got to
an
know
act
about
of
this
service,
TEDx.
as you said.
It is an act of, well, you are about you are all of that. Okay, so let's talk TEDx. Okay, so you manifested you want to do it. You said it out loud. You kind of shared it with people, the universe at large, and all of a sudden, who did you like write to? Who called
Random
you?
inbox, like a dear friend who I've known for a long time. She and I
Okay,
went to graduate school together. She and her family had moved to Brazil. I hadn't heard from her in a while, and she
okay,
forwarded it to me. It was just in my alma mater is the American University of Paris, and
okay,
they had decided they used to do it years ago, and they hadn't for many years, and they decided to do a TEDx. And she sends me this thing. She says you should apply, and I look at it, and it's the application deadline is in like 6 days. Okay, and I'm like. And it's like December, okay? Like it's holiday time. We're, got client planning. And I'm like, well, I'm going to do it. And this is the reason that I said earlier, you have to really manifest it and you have to do it. You have to act
yeah,
because I open up the application and it is no joke. Like they are like, what will the name of your speech be? What is the topic? What is the theme? What are some examples of you speaking? And I had all of it because I had
Oh,
already started doing it.
okay. Yeah.
So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
why. So I think the lesson in that would be, if you want to do a TEDx, you got to get out and speak. And it doesn't, you probably won't start at a TEDx. You might start at your own event, at your own company. You might start somewhere else, but you need to like get out and try it and say, I'm going to do it. Because honestly, that is the key. Had I not done the work, that application, I could have tried, but I wouldn't have had solid examples. I wouldn't have had a really clear thesis. I already had a speech that I had started. The new TEDx that is coming out is quite different. It is new material. It is something that I really worked on.
And
but
what is the name of it?
It is called, it's still called Walking Confidently in the Wrong Direction, a CEO's Guide to Navigating Change.
Okay. So we didn't do this on American soil, right? I mean, this was a big deal. Tell everybody, like, what did yes, Paris, she's back in Paris. Okay, with the baguettes and like the what do you pull those little hats? Oh my gosh. What
the berets.
The beret. How could I forget the beret? I'm on to baguettes.
You gotta have a beret, you gotta have a baguette, you gotta get a bike, you gotta ride through the Jardin des Tuileries. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh my God, this is killing me. Okay. So you go there. How many days in advance did you go? Was there like preparation for it? Who did you bring? Was it your husband? And like, how did it go down? And I mean, well, you can't tell us too much because it's going to be released. And so this will be, I'll have a link to you and all of, how people can follow you. When does it come out?
Okay, thank you. Good question. The answer is soon. So it reminds me, I've always thought of this like, and being in commercial real estate, it's easy to think of it. When you buy a house or something, you're always like, I bought a house. Kinda. I'm waiting on escrow, and then I'm waiting to move in, and then and that's kind of what it is. So the talk is still in editing. There were 9 of us that were invited to the event, so there were 9 speeches given. The school is editing each of the speeches alongside the TED team. Then the speeches will be submitted to the TED website. They have to go through their full process, and then they get released. So I did that thing where I just said, I think it'll be in May, but I don't know for sure. I know it'll be relatively soon.
But you get on the plane and you're going to have this, I mean, just really milestone of experience. And are you thinking, what am I doing? Like, what the heck? Did you ever have a moment where you were like second guessing yourself or anything? And what did it look like the day of? And did you witness other people on the stage for theirs? Like, what does this all look like?
Oh, so many things. Well, I can answer first. Did I ever?
And how did you pick out your outfit? I don't want to be
superficial.
I don't want to be superficial, but come on, we're chicks.
Please, with great pleasure. The outfit I tried on. I think I ordered like 300 things. I kept sending everything back.
Yeah, because I wanted a wedding.
I mean, seriously, I was. Yeah, it's funny because I'm I'm an actress. I'm like, what am I going to wear? That's the first thing I want to do.
Well, come on,
As far as the doubts go, I will say, because I think it's important, when we are talking about bold people doing bold things, to know that they are not fearless, that they just kind of work through it. There were moments where, the little, I call her Nancy. I have a little girl in my head. I call her Nancy.
Oh,
she's
okay.
Nancy. She's mean. She's my mean. And she would tell me things like, why are you going to do this TEDx thing? You should be focused on your agency. Like you're not, why are you not, frankly, butt in the seat at the computer? Like what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So Nancy likes to kind of tell me that when I'm being brave, that I should shut up and go get behind the screen. But usually I've learned to kind of tell Nancy like, hey Nancy, you need to just have a little cup of tea and maybe take a nap because you seem tired,
Maybe she needs to move out of the country.
It'd be lovely.
So Nana Nancy. I love that.
So
Nana
Nancy, we put her to bed. We went in a few days early. My hubby came with me, Jenn Quader, who's my love. He's a great support to me. He works with me on the creative side. We have some other writing and creative pursuits.
And you have to have your puzzle piece with you. I mean, and not, listen, not everybody that's married would say the same about their husband, not to diss that, but look, you could be in a relationship and they're just not the person that you would feel the most comfortable supporting you in that moment, right? Doesn't mean that the marriage isn't working. It's just not that. Like this husband that I'm married to, John, he'd have to be there. Like he's just like, he's my puzzle piece.
I see you guys on social. I see the love. And
he's my best friend. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I have a deep friendship with him, not just a romantic love. I have a deep friendship with him. So he'd have to be there for me to feel safe and good. right?
Yeah.
And I'm probably because he's my biggest fan.
Of course. And you want your fan there. You want your fan.
Right, Jen? I think there's something to be, I think that's like all of a sudden occurred to me. I think it's because I like know that I have my fan club with me when he's there.
Which is great.
Yeah, because again, it goes back to safety. So
Yeah.
you take the stage. Now, are you like, or did you get to witness other people there, or do they make you
So-
wait outside the room, or like is it like one goes, two goes, and you're like number three, and you're like the build up, and like the you're starting to get out of breath, and you're like somebody like tell me, what was that like?
Good questions. Because, and I said this when I got back, and it's really true. On the way there, I did think it was about me. That's a challenge I have in my life. I sometimes think it's all about Jenn. And when I got there, so what happened is we had a tech rehearsal 2 days prior to the event.
Okay.
And the tech rehearsal was an all-day thing. All the speakers came in, and that's when we got to hear everybody do their speeches, in more of a casual environment. And I fell head over heels in love. These people, so the topic of the actual event is resilience redefined, and everyone was talking about resilience.
Yeah.
And I mean, when someone gets up on that stage and bears their soul and tells you things, I think my challenges are challenges. I heard some global world challenges that were like, wow. And so it didn't, I want to be clear to say, it didn't diminish what I felt in mine. I wasn't like, oh no, what will I do? That didn't come at all. It was more like, yeah, it was like, what's that kids game you used to play, round robin, or you red robin, and you'd all hold hands, and run through to see who could break through. It felt like we were playing red robin.
You know what I love about this comment that you just made is that, because I mean, my very first thought before you shared what you experienced was, oh, if I was witnessing what everybody else is, would I start to fall into comparison, right? And then have a self-defeating attitude about mine to theirs. And because of their vulnerability and what they were sharing, you built a sense of community, and it really took you out of the isolation of, oh, this is all about Jenn, or how am I going to do it, to we're going to do it. Right. And when we step into community, that's an entirely different thing, because now there's less room for ego. Right. We're not edging the goodness out. EGO. I know I'm the WTF lady, but I'm also the acronym queen. Every time I think,
goodness out. That's good,
right?
Danielle.
Edging the goodness out.
I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, and I made it up. Like, I didn't read that somewhere, right?
It's no, I'm telling you, that's fabulous. I mean,
Okay.
when you do that, you have all these great. You're very.
They just come into my head. Okay, not everything I say, I didn't learn from somebody else, and I will quote them. But EGO, edging the goodness out, right? Because it's so easy to go into ego, and usually it's not. I used to think traditionally, like, oh, ego is about like thinking so much about myself, but really, ego is also shown when we're putting ourselves down, because then again, we're making it all about us, right? Ego in the negative sense is still ego, right? So, but I love that I saw you light up when I said you fell into a sense of community, and in that spirit and motion, you were just going to shine because you were all doing it together. And so you did the talk. We're going to get to witness the talk sometime in May, maybe after that, but in the show notes will be all of Jenn's contact information. You will be able to follow her and you'll be able to hear it. But you left that. And so I have to ask you, how life-changing was it? Like when you came back, did you just like the experience? Because you also, it was one of your dreams and you did it. So, and that's big. Rarely do people get to do a TEDx talk. It's, and so I just congratulate you on fulfilling that goal. It's a biggie. It's a biggie. I mean, honestly, I it's not on my goal list. That I find that kind of scary, and I'm a pretty brazen person. I don't know that I would ever want to do it, but I love that you did, and I find it so inspiring. So I have to ask you as we wrap up, what's next for Jenn Quader? What is next? I mean, how do you continue to outperform yourself, girl?
Well,
what is next?
The beauty is, you asked me, you said, I saw you light up when you said community. Yeah. And you were right. For anyone who's listening and not seeing, like, it made my little heart go pitter patter. And the reason I want to say that is because, just in this discussion, I told you many, many moons ago when I left theater and singing and dance, which I still love. But when I left, it was because I wanted to stop just looking at myself in the mirror. And when I went to that place, and it is still a habit. I still have an ego. I'm still an actress. So I still was going with this thought of like, I am going to perform well. And then when I met these people and I had this connection, it led me really clearly to what needs to be next. So what is next is we are launching a podcast called Resiliency.
I love it.
And it is,
I love it.
it's going to be great. It's going to be co-hosted by me and one of the other speakers. Her name is Dr. Kelly Culver, and she is one of the first in the world to have a doctorate in resilience that she obtained from the Paris School of Business. So our plan is to do a series that is with me and her and with all the speakers to break down each of the talks and to really talk about resilience. And I think why that's important right now is I think we all kind of know that we are in a bit of a mental health crisis. We are in a time where there is kind of a negative turn. And I think that resilience is really what every leader, every business owner, every wife, husband, partner, like if you're living today, you need resilience. So that is our plan, is to launch a new podcast. We're just in the planning stages. You yourself know what it takes to do it. And I will call you after this and ask you all sorts of details.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to tell everybody that's listening to this, that if you're flirting with this idea, I mean, go for it. Absolutely go for it, and plan to fail forward. That's it. But because we just, you got to figure out something new, but it's beautiful. But really, I would not be able to do this without like the help of somebody like Kyle Cummings, who's with Pod Circle. And really, when you take something as passionate as this, the creativity part is like great. And you have an idea and you have a direction and you have a co-host and all that stuff. But just get yourself somebody really good, because the tech piece and even when it's being put out there, Apple, Spotify, all those things, that don't cut corners when it comes to that, because I will tell you, I've tried that and it does never works out. He makes me doing this just an easier, more beautiful experience. So Kyle Cummings, Pod Circle, that whole team, no, they're amazing. So whoever you choose, just align yourself with somebody that you can trust, and just shine the light on you and do the parts that you like, right? So even like in our businesses, we don't do it all, right? You get a marketing team, that's why I hired Jen, or you get an accounting team, you get a lawyer team. It takes a village to do something. I am so excited. I love that you're taking your voice out there on podcasting and to the next level. I can't wait to cross paths with you again. I can't wait to see this TEDx talk. I'll be obviously looking for it on, all the different social media channels. You did a beautiful build up. So people in the show notes will be Jen's information. And I want you to visit it because she also did a really nice build up to the experience of getting on the TED Talk. So you're really, you're so gracious in sharing your journey. And this is important because it's not really about you per se, and because you are a woman who wants to inspire. And so when we see other people doing it, it's not to, evoke envy or anything. It's like, guess what? There's room for you too. And I'm going for it, and I want to see you go for it.
Amen. And I have to,
right?
And I have to tell you, Danielle, I've mentioned to you before, but you are such a point of wisdom. I know you have these like inner wisdom nuggets that are just, you can mine for them like diamonds, and you're diamond full. But you told me at that first dinner, or lunch, sorry, the first lunch we got together, crew Orange County, we met up. And I was talking to you, I was talking about wanting to do something like this. It wasn't TEDx yet. It was just me saying, I have this thing inside of me and I want to share this stuff. And you said, I can't remember, I said something about teaching or something. And you said, no, don't teach. You showcase and you highlight. And there was something so amazing in that said, Jen, put the ego away. This isn't about what you need to do. This is about what needs to come through you. So again, I'm so inspired by you because I've watched you, launch this, bring it into something. I see you having guests. I see you doing solo episodes. Like I really see you highlighting and showcasing people's voices and doing it in a way that gives space for them to really share their story. So I'm just very grateful to have had this conversation and very grateful to know you. I think you're a really wonderful person.
That's very sweet to say. I believe that if we're doing our best, what we really are at the very most is a conduit for change. Right? It's not about us, we're a conduit. Yeah. And that's what I seek to be. So thank you
Same
so
here.
much for coming on. I just adore you. Okay.
Same to
And
you.
yes, and everybody will look out for that TEDx talk. You go, sister. All right. Thanks,
Woohoo!
Jen.
Thanks, Danielle.